Okay, I suppose we can start now.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I see that we have about 11 of us in attendance now, which is an encouraging number. So we'll start and hope that the ones that can join us will join us. And quickly, I just want to bring to our attention that the session is being recorded. So at the end of the session, I'll possibly send you the link to the recordings so you can download the recordings from your own end if for any reason you need to go back through what we will be discussing today. So quickly, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Patrick. I'm Patrick Osia. You can just call me Patrick. And I will be one of the lecturers in charge of this module. Myself, Dr. Heyman, will be the coordinator of the courses, the module itself. And then we also have Mr. Maximino as well, another lecturer for the course. So 3 of us will be taking the module in the course of the session, right? Let me just go quickly through the schedule. So today, like I said, today is going to be, I will be taking the program for today, which is the introduction to the principle of project management. I will come and explain everything we need to do here. And then I suppose you guys should have or must have seen the course outline. Maximino will be taking for tomorrow, day 2 and day 3. That's on Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday. It will take you on organizational arrangements and project governance. And then it will also take you on project management knowledge areas. That's on day 3. And on day 4, I will come back on day 4 to take you guys on applied technologies and project documentation. I will be taking that. And then next week, Monday, applied technology is going to be on Friday. And then on Monday, I will take you on project management and evaluation. At that time, we should be concluding on, we should have gotten the grasp of the entirety of project management and sustainability. And then on Tuesday, which is the last day, Dr. Heyman will be coming in to take you on sustainability in project management. So this is just a snapshot of what we will be doing for the rest of the week. And so please just take note of that. Between now and next week, Tuesday, we'll cover all this session. And just for the record, I need to state out that prior to the COVID pandemic, I suppose you must have been told, the diploma section runs in such a way that our lectures are for a week and physical. And what we do is that we have the lectures 9 to 4 p.m. daily. Sorry, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. We have the lectures, and it's always a very intense, it's intense crash course of the entirety of the program. So you see, that's what we were doing before COVID, and we felt that it was already a crash course. So now that we have COVID as a factor to contend with, we are now crashing the already crashed course. That's interesting, I must say, that we have to crash the already crashed course. So now the course contents are supposed to take us for 9 to 4, which is plus minus 6-7 hours. We have to crash it down again to have lectures for plus minus 2-3 hours, depending on what we can cover. So I understand the fact that it's a crash of the crash, and the situation we find ourselves, we just have to make do with what we have in the post-COVID educational space. So please just take note of that, and as much as possible, some of the things in which we'll be doing, we'll have to move in a very fast pace. As much as we'll be as slow as we can be, and also as fast as we can be. And I just want to put it out there that if at any point in the course of the session that maybe if we are too fast for your understanding, please call us to order, call me to order, right? If I raise a particular issue and possibly we passed it and you do not understand, please don't hesitate to raise up your hands. And if I don't see your hands, please just say something, or mute yourself and say something. But if you are not saying something in relation to the class, please ensure that your mics are at all times mute. But if you need to say something, if I did not recognize you, raise up your hands. But if I did not see your hand, which most likely I will not see your hand, considering the fact that I am sharing my screen. So I may not be looking at the participant to see whose hand is up. Who is the class rep again? What's the name?
It's Sheila.
Okay, is Sheila here?
Yes, she is connected.
Okay. Sheila, or you, I'm going to just pick up on you now, Sandile or Sheila, any one of you, please, do you mind you?
I'm here, sir.
Are you here?
Yes, I'm here, sir, but I'm just still on the road. If I'm getting lost, Zandi will take over, please, wherever I'm supposed to say something.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, Sandile, you please do this for us. If please just put an eye on the participant session. If anybody is raising up his or her hand, please just let me know, right? Because I may not be seeing that. That's just what I want. Sheila cannot help us now if she's driving or on the road. But if for any reason you see anybody raise up their hand, just please let me know, right? So I'm saying that if at any point we are too fast for your liking, or we are too fast and you do not get what we are about to say or what we just said, please raise up your hand and let us carry ourselves together. For me, my orientation when it comes to teaching is that we have to do the concept of all for one and one for all. We need to move together. Our movement have to be together. So we are leaving no one behind. We are going to practice what the president said we should do in the COVID era. Leave no one behind. So we are leaving no one behind. If at any point you felt left behind, please just let us know so that we know where you are and then we'll pick it up from there. Right? Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, another point I need to quickly raise. Is relating to our assessments. I will start from the last. I suppose you are seeing my screen. So I will start from the last one, which is class attendance. This course is a compulsory module, we are all aware. And we're also aware of the fact that we need to, as much as possible, ensure that we are in all the sessions that we'll be having. The 6 sessions we are going to be having from today to Tuesday next week. Please, as much as possible, try and attend. Try and attend as much as possible. And talking about that, please just type your name and student number on the comment section. That is, just type your name and student number on the comment section now as I speak, right? That is your attendance, right? Your name and student number, type it on the comment section. So please try and attend as much as you can. At least you need 80% of attendance in this course. So as much as possible, try and attend all the program. And going forward from tomorrow, the program is going to be 9 a.m., not an evening session. I suggested we meet this evening because of the low turnout we had this morning. But upon consultation with the powers that be, I was made to understand that we just have to meet the normal time the university says we should meet, which is 9 a.m. And I believe you guys have been, you were aware of the time we were supposed to meet. So going forward from tomorrow, we'll meet 9 a.m. and we'll just carry as much as we can. I think it's between 2-3 hours lectures. we should find a way of making that happen from tomorrow. I understand today some people had challenge as relating to internet, others had challenge as relating to the time, thinking the class was supposed to be for 10 o'clock, or some people thought the class was supposed to be for 9 o'clock. So please, this attendance I'm seeing here, which is a very impressive attendance, 13 of you, 13 of 15 are in class. So please, let's do the same going forward. As much as possible, please try and attend the session, right? And then when it comes to the activity, we are going to be having 3 assessments. And each of the lecturers that will be taking the course, we will take you on 1 assessment in relation to the session in which they will have treated with you guys. So for me, I will take you, I will tell you about my assignments today, so that you have an idea of what we are going to be doing as an assignment. And possibly, if there is time, and if time permits, I'm going to explain everything we need to do in the assignment. Otherwise, I will explain what we need to do in the assignment when I come in to take you guys again on Friday. But if I have time today, I will explain the assignments and the requirements of the assignments. The assignment is due in about 3 weeks from now, 3rd September. The assignment is due on the 3rd of September. And then the second assignment, which is going to be by Mr. Kosomado, is going to be due on the 17th of September, while the last activity will be due on the 30th September. All this you will be submitting on Moodle, right? You will submit on Moodle. So please take notes of this. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
It's clear, Doc.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you very much for that.
Mister?
Yeah, go ahead. You saying something?
No, I was just checking, just to continue using the Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead. Are you saying something?
Yes, I'm checking. Is it possible for the? Yes, I'm asking the time. If it's possible, this 6 o'clock, is it possible to continue with it? I don't know from other students.
Okay, it is
From that side.
Okay, Shala. Thank you for your question. It is not subject to the students on the time the class has to be. It is subject to the course coordinator and the course lecturer. And the reason, like I said, the reason why I suggested we meet this evening was because of the low turnout we had this morning. Just about 5 people were in class initially, and subsequent people were joining. But that decision was just by me, and I take full responsibility for that, for saying we should meet this evening. The decision was just by me. I just felt that you guys will possibly be available in the evening for us to have a session. But like I said, when I related it to the powers that be, I was made to understand that the session needs to hold at the approved time by the university. So we cannot allow a situation whereby people decide on when they want to meet, because before now, when we used to meet in the prior to the COVID period, what is expected for your class is that you come to the university, to the campus for 1 whole week, so and ensure that you are in these classes. So the same thing still apply. The same thing still apply even in this COVID period now. Yes, it is online, but you must understand that it's not a workshop, but it is a class. So for that reason, I was told we have to meet at the normal time, which is 9 a.m. daily. So it's going to be between 9 and 12 o'clock, 9 and 12 noon, between from tomorrow to Tuesday. So I understand the fact that I also need to reason. I understand that you guys are quote and unquote busy. You have things to worry about, other engagements and the likes. But the instruction was, we just have to meet at the normal time we're supposed to meet. So I'm sorry, I cannot, I tried to push on that, but I just did not, I was not successful. So let's just try and meet at the between 9 and 12 from tomorrow. Is that okay? Is my explanation clear enough? Hello, people.
Yes, doctor, it's fine with me.
Okay.
I'm Lindy.
Okay, yeah, Lindy, where I can see
it's fine
you.
with me.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's continue. Right. So that's basically the housekeeping I needed to do. I've talked about your assessments, and okay, I can see your hand raised up. Is it Nembazeni? I'm sorry, I'm going to murder a lot of names.
Yeah, yes, Doc. Like you said that the classes will start on the 10th to 17th. I just want to check, is it including the weekends or it's only weekdays?
No, just weekdays. It's going
Okay.
to be tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then we'll meet on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's clarified, Doc.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Okay. So basically these are the important housekeeping issues I needed to talk about. Your assessment and the contact sessions. And then also very importantly, please, the readings in which we have posted on Moodle, please, as much as possible, try and go through them. Try and read one or two of those readings just to have a bigger perception to the things we'll be discussing. And I want to also advise that don't just read what we gave you in on Moodle. Read wider. Go on Google Scholar, check for more articles as relating to each topics that we will be treating, and just be broad. Most of what we'll be talking about throughout the session are things in which you are familiar with already. All we are doing now is that we are talking about the theory of the practicals most of you are already doing. I suppose that some of you already, if I start asking us to introduce ourselves now in class, if this was supposed to be in the physical gathering where we have all the time, we'll have gone around to introduce ourselves, our office, so that I have an idea of the caliber of people we are relating with. So when it comes to examples, we know who to ask to give us one example or the other. Generally, in the course of the year, by experience of people in this class, I know that some of you are already project managers already. You are municipal manager, left, right, here and there, and you're already in the field. So basically what we'll be doing for the space of this week is to just theorize, to talk about the theoretical aspects of the practical things you have been doing in your session. And like I told them last year, we are just trying to formalize what you know so that we can give you a paper to say that now you are certified. Based on this paper, you can do what you know already. That's basically what education is all about. We learn, we unlearn, and then we validate whatever we say we know already. Okay? So let's just go ahead and we'll see where we can push. Today, what we want to look at is the essentials of project management. Essentials of project management. We are going to be looking at the entirety of, I don't know how we are going to do it because the class is supposed to be interactive. It should not be a news session whereby I'll be the one talking and you will just sit there and just be listening. I'm not here to entertain you guys. So I'm here for us to learn from each other. Like I said, you guys are the professionals. I am just a theorist. So I want to learn from you in as much as I also direct you. Technically, you may not be learning from me because I will just be directing you based on what you know already. So that's what we are going to be doing. So it's going to be as interactive as possible, right? And I don't know how we are going to cover this session in 2 hours, but we'll try our best, or better still in 3 hours as it is, in 2-3 hours. So we'll see how best we can go. And basically what we are going to be doing today is just to scratch. It's just to give us tips, you know, appetizer. You know, when you go to the restaurant, you first have your first course meal before you have the main course. So from tomorrow, we'll be going deeper into some of the things in which we'll be discussing today. But today is just going to be just for us to have a tip of the entirety of what project management is all about. So today we'll be looking at project conceptualization. What do we mean when we say projects in the first place? What is a project? What are the fundamentals of a project? What are the components of a project? Types of projects? Then we'll also look at project management in itself. What do we mean when we discuss project management? What are the constraints of project management? What are the objectives? What are the benefits? And then we'll look at the system approach to projects. We'll look at project management systems. We'll look at project management process. We'll look at steps in managing projects. And then we'll perform SWOT analysis of projects. How do you perform a SWOT analysis of a project? And then we look at models for the study and application of projects. So basically, these are the things which we will look at. And like I said here, most of these things, I think I need to just do a slide show. Most of these things that we are going to be covering today are in fair terms. These things are supposed to, each of these objectives is supposed to take us at least 45 minutes to 1 hour to cover it, whereby we'll discuss, there's going to be contribution and the likes. But for the sake of time, we'll see how we merge them to maybe some few minutes and cover this thing. So quickly, let me just put it out there. When we talk about projects, what do you think that is? Let us start the discussion from here. What is a project? Hello, people. This is the time you now start unmuting yourself to talk to me. What is a project? What is your own understanding? Okay, quickly, let me also put it out there. There is no right answer or wrong answer in this class. What we have is an answer that is suitable for now, an answer that is suitable for later, but there's no wrong answers. All answer is okay. We can only use them now or use them later. So don't be afraid to tell me what you think. Is that okay? So what is project? What is your own understanding when we talk about projects? What does it mean? Any volunteer? Hello, people. Can you hear me? I hope I've not been speaking to myself.
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so what is project, guys? Don't worry, there's no wrong answer.
I think a project, in a simpler terms, it can be a series of tasks or of activities that needs to be completed in order to reach a specific outcome or a specific objective.
That's interesting. That's a scholar-like definition. Series of activities that needs to be achieved. Yes. Thank you very much for that contribution. Thank you very much for that. That's beautiful. Yeah, I'm already liking this class. Yes. Projects.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Zandy.
I would say project, it's a collaborative enterprise that is carefully or it's planned to achieve a particular aim.
Interesting. Collaborative enterprise carefully planned to achieve a particular aim. That's beautiful. Yes. Can we have one or two more
Oh, yes, Prof.
Go ahead.
I just want to add to what my colleagues have just said. We are talking about the activities that are planned and time framed. Yes.
I like that too. Activities planned and are time framed. That's beautiful. Yeah. Can we have one more before we continue? One more before we continue?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can say it's undertakings that are carried out to achieve a specific objective that is.
Oh, I've lost you there. Are you still with me? Tolakele? Tolakele, are you still there? Okay, it seems we've lost Tolakele, but yeah, thank you very much for your contributions. All what you said now, are you guys still with me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I need to be sure of that I'm not the one that is off, thinking that Tolakele is the one. Okay, so the points you guys have raised are beautiful points. That is what a project is, right? And like I said, most of what we'll be discussing today are things you are familiar with already. I'm not going to be saying anything that is fresh. There's no new thing I'm going to be saying. So yeah, these are the spaces of what a project is. And by that, as we continue, you understand that you from your definition, you've not only defined what a project is, you have given the fundamentals, the features of what a project should be, right? So I'll pick it up from there. So when we discuss projects, all right, when we discuss projects, we talk about a problem. A project is a problem that is scheduled for a solution. That's according to J.M. Juran, right? He said a problem scheduled for solution. All what you guys have discussed now, series of activities that is planned, that has a time frame and the likes. All these things, what we are saying is that it is a problem. There is a need. Let me use another word. A project is a need within a particular environment. This is not on my slide, just speak it. This is just another example, another definition. And I believe that every one of us can have a definition to what a project is. So we can say a project is a need identified within a particular environment that solution needs, that we need to come up with a particular solution for. So a problem is a need in a society that needs to be resolved, right? That's what a project is. So we say a project is a problem that is scheduled for solution. So when we talk about that problem, there's always a gap between where we are and where we want to be. That is why it's a problem. It is a problem because we are somewhere and we need to be in another place. So the movement or the transportation between where we are and where we want to be is what project is all about. It's the process itself from where we are to where we want to be. So there are always going to be obstacles within in every society or in every problem we find ourselves from where we are to where we want to be. There's always going to be an obstacle. That obstacle itself is the project as it is. So basically that's the conceptualization of a problem. So when we define problem, first and foremost, we ask ourselves, what is the desired end state or outcome? So first and foremost, I think the first question you need to ask, even before you come to the desired end, the desired end state is, what is the problem in itself? What is the goal? First is, what is the goal? Second, what is the desired end state or outcome? Then, what prevents or makes achieving it difficult? How can we achieve that particular end state? how can we achieve our particular outcome? What makes it difficult? We analyze that. And then how will we know when we have achieved that particular result? And from one of the definitions in which you guys gave, you talk about what? There has to be what? A time frame. So a problem is not continuous, it's not consistent. It has a time frame. You must know when that project is what? Is achieved, right? So basically, these are the points in which you consider when you look at a project. First, what is the desire? Second, what is preventing you from achieving that end state? And then how will you know when you have achieved that end state? So basically, these are the things in which you look at when we conceptualize a project. So another definition to project, you say that they are what? It's a collection of simultaneous and sequential activities which together produce an identifiable outcome of value. That's what Morris and Hughes define a project as, right? And then we said that in its simplest form, it's an endeavor that has a beginning and an end. Remember what we say here as the things to consider in a project. You must know when that desired has been achieved, right? It is not a situation of asking you the philosophical question between a chicken and the egg, which comes first. Have you had that question before? Between a chicken and an egg, which comes first? Can I ask that question? Can I put it out there? Between a chicken and the egg, which comes first?
Chicken.
Hello, guys. Are you with me?
I am.
Yes, Doc.
Okay,
Yes.
so between a chicken and an egg, which comes first?
Chicken.
Chicken.
Are you sure?
Mm.
Yes.
Who produced the chicken?
It's
God.
eggs.
God.
Huh?
It was
Now
God.
you are being spiritual with me now. You see, it is actually a philosophical question if you think about it. And that's an argument that we are here to resolve. Because some people will argue that the chicken comes first. Other people will argue that the end comes first, right? And so your project should not be that complicated. Should not be the complication of a chicken and an egg, right? That's what we are saying. Your project must have a defined beginning and a defined endpoint. Are we together? There has to be a defined beginning and a defined endpoint. And how do you define your beginning and your endpoint? If we go back to our conceptualization of problems, it's a project. We say a project is a problem that requires a solution. So first, you have identified the problem. And if you identify the problem, you tell yourself the objective. This is the problem, and this is the objective I am intending to achieve. So if there's an objective to achieve, then you ask yourself, how do I achieve this objective? That is moving from where we are to where we want to be. So you move from where we are to where we want to be. So that's the movement itself. And when you get to where you want to be, you must know that you are no longer where you used to be, right? So that's the idea when we discuss a project. And then, like we said, the projects are comprised of a set of principles, method, tools, techniques for effective management of an objective-oriented work. So basically, these are some of the conceptualization when we discuss a project, right? When we discuss projects. So now, when it comes to the fundamentals, those things that are expected, that the features of a project. Like we said, a project has to be what? A one-time effort. In the sense of the fact that the project is supposed to have a life cycle. It must have a beginning, and it must also have what? An ending. So this we're familiar with. So there has to be a definite start, and when you have what? A project closure, when you have the end of that particular project. And then we said the project needs to be unique, right? Every project has It has to address a particular problem within your environment. It has to address a particular problem. There has to be something that is considerably unique about that project. The project cannot be the same as every other thing, because if it's the same, it becomes duplication, right? So it must be a particular, it has to be unique in itself for it to be referred to as what? As a project. Another thing about a project is that it requires what? Resources. And when we talk about resources, we're talking about both human resources and capital resources, material and immaterial resources. And some of these things we are going to be discussing tomorrow. So we talk about resources as relating to human capital, the people that will be involved. It needs the financial resources, the money that will be involved in that project. It needs time. And you know, sometimes people will talk and then they will say some projects are free. There's no free projects. Somebody definitely is paying for it. Even when you ask for volunteers, right? It implies that somebody is paying for it. So there's going to be people, there's going to be time, there's going to be money that is allocated for each of these projects. So basically, these are some of the fundamentals in which we have in a project. We talk about projects having limited and controlled time span, right? It's also, there has to be the creation of a particular specified time scale. The project cannot continue endlessly. So it's a point to consider. Projects are about change. Like we said, when you understand the fundamental statement here, to say that a project is a problem that demands what? A solution. So project is all about what? Creating change, about creating solution. So projects are what? Are solution driven. It's about moving from the old to the new. So basically that's what project is all about. And then we say what? There has to be what? A defined outcome, right? There have to be well-defined deliverables when it comes to our project. So basically these are some of the fundamentals of projects in which we should be familiar with. Are we together? Am I too fast or I'm okay? Hello, people?
No, we're still okay, sir.
No, you're okay, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so let's just continue.
We are still following, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, so when it comes to the components, of projects, these are the components of projects. We basically have 4 components of a project, or better, sorry, 3 components of a project. We'll talk about the milestones, we'll talk about the activities, and we'll talk about the deliverables. These are the components of a project. When we talk about milestones, remember that we said that a project is a problem that demands solution, right? And we said that in projects, we talk about where we are and where we want to be. Where we are being the problem, where we want to be being what? The solution, right? Now, when we talk about milestones, we are talking about markers that shows that there is movement in that particular project. What are the movements? What are we actually achieving, right? There should be a marker that shows us that, okay, yesterday we were in stage 1. Just like, let's take the stage now of the COVID lockdown, right? And now we're in stage 3 adjusted, like I said, right? Yesterday, we can confidently say, yesterday we were in stage 1. 2 weeks ago, we were in stage 2. In the next 3 weeks, we are hoping to be in what? In stage 3. And then on and on like that. There has to be markers to identify those completion. How do we know when we are in stage 1 and when we finish stage 1 and we move to stage 2? And how do we know when we are in stage 3, stage 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on how your project is? So there has to be milestones in your project, and there has to be markers that indicates the milestone itself. So you see, with the markers indicating your milestone, you can actually project your project. You can say, okay, this project is going to be a 1-year project, or a 2-year project, or a 10-year project. And you can actually project to say, okay, in 6 months, this is what we are hoping to achieve, right? In 6 months, we want to achieve A, B, C, and D. In the next 1 year, we want to have achieved this, this, and this. So you see, you can actually see your progression. So that's one component of a project. In a project, there has to be what? There has to be milestones. They are sub-objective of the project. You know, you have a central objective of the project, which is to move from point A to point B. But between point A and point B, the gap, there has to be indications that shows you how you are moving. Another example you can give, if you are going to PMB, for instance, now, we can tell ourselves, okay, when we get to Pine Town, right? In 2 hours time, so in 2 hours time, we should be in Pine Town. In 3 hours time, we should be possibly at the toll gates. In 10 hours time, we are hoping that we should be in Pine Town. So these are what? The milestone that a project that needs to be in a project. And then we'll talk about activities. The project activities, they are referred to as what? As the unit of work that is required in that particular project. What are the unit of work? What exactly the project, what's the project all about? And what are the unit of work that are in that particular project? And that's where we talk about the work breakdown structure, whereby now you have to divide the activities. You need to say, okay, this department is in charge of these activities, or this particular person is in charge of this activity, that activity, and the likes. And like we said, these things are relative. The activity in each project is dependent on what? On the type of project we are talking about, right? And it is in these activities now that we will now distribute our resources, both human resources as well as what? Capital resources. Our material and immaterial resources move into these activities. Quickly, let me go back to the milestone. It is in the milestone when we go to on Friday, we'll be focusing more on the milestone. When we'll discuss project documentation, right? It becomes more relevant in the milestone project documentation. So activities, they are the basic things that are required in that particular project, where you start talking about the assignment of roles and responsibilities in that particular project. Now, I want to talk about deliverables. Deliverables are what? They are tangible, verifiable accomplishments en route to the final end product of your project. You should know the difference between your milestones and your deliverables. Deliverables are those things that you have accomplished already in the project. Milestones are what? Indication of your stages in that particular project, right? These are what? Your milestones. Deliverables are tangible. You can say, okay, in the last 6 months, this project is about, let's pick a project, for instance. Let's say the project is about poverty alleviation. We want to reduce poverty in KZN. And for that reason now, we are focusing on, say, Tekwini. We want to provide training for, let's say, I'm trying to find one example. Please give me one example of a training that we can pick. Any training we can do for youth. Let's come up with a class project now, for instance. The objective is for us to reduce unemployment in KZN. Are we together? Want to reduce unemployment in KZN, we need to come up with a particular project. So now we are going to be doing training. So which kind of training do you think we can do in KZN? Hello, people? Am I still in class?
Yes, you are.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Which kind of training? Let's come up with a project, so that we'll use that project as our example throughout the session today. So I just stated that we have identified, first and foremost, is to come up with the problem statement itself. The problem is that we have identified the fact that there are a lot of unemployed, or better still, the poverty in KZN is high. This is statistically, the poverty in KZN is high. KZN is one of the poorest province, right, in South Africa, right? So that is the problem. And we have also noticed that there is high youth unemployment in KZN. We are writing a problem statement now, and I'm starting. So we have a high rate of youth unemployment in KZN. So the class of 2021, project management and sustainability class of 2021, have decided to come up with a training to reduce poverty in KZN. So which project are we going to, which kind of training are we going to be doing?
It's skills development.
Yes, which development? We need to be specific now.
Crop farming, for example.
What do you say?
Crop farming.
Crop farming. Good. Okay, so we are going to be doing what? Crop farming, right? So now that is our project. We are going to be doing crop farming. So you see, we have identified the problem. There is poverty and unemployment in KZN. And we have identified what? The solution. Solution is increase employment, increase the capacity of youth in KZN. That's our solution. So now we are in what? No work, solution, increase capacity. Now the gap in between these two, how do we get there? We say what? Let us do a training on what? On crop farming. So we can actually have a progression now to say, okay, in the next 1 year, we want to have trained 100 youths, right? In the next 2 years, we want to ensure that those 100 youths that we have trained have also trained another 100 youths, meaning that in 2 years' time, we should have 200 or 300 youths that have been trained, right? This is our milestone, right? The activity now is going to be, we now coming up with, okay, who is going to do the training? Who is going to be in charge of logistics of mobilizing the youth and the likes, right? And when it comes to deliverable, what is going to be our deliverable? Let me see if you get this component. What is going to be our deliverable as relating to this project?
The deliverable will have to be the number of youth employed after the training.
Good, thank you very much. So the tangible number of youth employed as the months goes by, right? We may tell ourselves that we want to do an evaluation, right? A measurement and evaluation, say a formative evaluation. Say in 6 months' time, we want to know how many people we have trained. In 1 year time, we want to know how many people we have trained. These are tangible. We can actually say, okay, these are the things in which we have achieved, right? The essence of our project is to reduce youth unemployment, to that social development as it is. And this is the particular number of people in which we have trained within this time frame, right? So this is our deliverable. So thank you very much. I'm happy you guys are following. Like I said, I'm not discussing anything new, right? Okay, so basically that's the components. And then we'll talk about types of projects. There are different types of projects. I'm not going to waste my time on this. There is a video on Moodle on types of projects. You can also please listen to that video for the sake of time, right? So we have the manufacturing projects that has to do with the manufacturing industry. We have management projects. We have research projects. We have developmental projects, right? it's under the developmental projects mostly that we have the community development projects and the likes. And then within this type of projects also, we can also have other differentiation, right? Within this category of manufacturing, management projects, research projects, and developmental projects, we can also have further categorization. They may be administrative, constructive, computer software development, events and relocation, maintenance of resources, new products, and the likes. So please ensure you look at this video. Let me see if I can show you my, I think it's there on the course outline on Moodle. I suppose all of you have access to Moodle already, right?
Yes, Doc, we can access more.
Okay, great. Please ensure you watch the video on the type of community development projects, and then you get to see some of these projects. I'm not going to play the video for the sake of time. Let's just play around that. You can come up with a lot of examples relating to that. So I'm not going to look at that. Okay. So basically, these are different types of projects, right? And then there's also ideally, I'm going to ask this question now. What's the difference between organizational process and projects, right? What's the difference between organizational process and projects? From this explanation we have given here, as relating to the components and the likes, what do you think is the process and projects? Any idea? Any idea on this? What's the difference between an organizational process and project? I want to believe that, like I said, there's nothing I'm saying here that is fresh, but any idea on what the difference is? Anybody helping us? Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. And this is a postgraduate class at the end of the day, though. Any idea, guys?
Checked.
Okay, I will just continue, just to save time on this point. The organizational process, we will discuss it more tomorrow. The essence is just for us to have an idea on the states of what you know. Like I said, this is just an introductory session, and as much as possible, we just do what we can do and just move ahead. So when we talk about the organizational process, we are talking about an ongoing process that is repeated over and over. Remember that when we discussed the components of a project, right? We said a project must have a definite start and end date, right? It must have a beginning and it must have an end. An organizational process is continuous. It keeps on repeating itself. You may have multiple projects in your various offices, for instance. I suppose that you have what? Multiple projects that you guys are involved in. So you may be using the same protocol for different projects, right? So you see, your process is the same over and over, but your project is not the same. Your project has a beginning and it has an end, right? An organizational process produces outputs every time, right? Whereby you produce the same output every time because it's the same thing. You keep doing the same thing, you get the same results. But as relating to projects, we said that a project is always what? Is unique. Remember when we discussed the fundamentals of a project, we said a project is what? Is unique. An organizational process have predefined work assignments, right? You have a predefined work assignment. Why, when it comes to a project, there is no predefined work assignment. You work based on what the specificity of that particular project. So that's what we imply when we discuss the difference between the organizational process as well as projects. Because sometimes there's always a cloudiness as relating to this. When we say, okay, yes, we are involved in projects in our department and this. So we must know that there's a difference between what we do every day, the protocols that we carry out every day in our department, and then when it comes to projects itself. So these are some of the things in which you should be familiar with. This is the difference when we look at an organizational process and a project. Now, there's also a difference. There's also difference between programs and projects. There are obvious difference between them. First, we said that programs are negotiated and have broad objective, whereby a project has what? A predetermined and specific objective. For instance, when we go to our example, our class project now, our project is what? To come up with 100 people at the end of the year that are already empowered when it comes to crop farming, right? The program, you said, may just be poverty alleviation, right? It is negotiated, it has broad objective. When it comes to our project, it must be specific. There has to be a predetermined, predefined and specific objective we intend to achieve, right? A program focus on strategic goals, project focus on what? Deliverables. We are concerned about the fact that at the end of 1 year, we should have 100 people that we have trained. While for a program, we just say at the end of for the program, we just say that we just want what? The alleviation of poverty. So there are no specific goals when we talk about a program. While in project, there are what? Specific goals. There are deliverables. You must be able to calculate when it comes to your evaluation, when it comes to your formative evaluation. You should be able to say, okay, these are the things in which we have done. So program managers are responsible for various project managers in their portfolio, right? Why in the case of a project, is the project managers that are responsible for persons within specific technical or project-related skills. They are responsible for just the people within that particular project, right? While program managers may have multiple project managers that they are responsible for. So these are some of the things in which we should just be familiar with when we discuss this. Like I said, it's just a snapshot. So to conclude this session, this objective, we're going to say first, when we talk about a project is a series of activity or a task. In simple terms, a project is a problem that's with a defined solution, right? We said we must have specific objective to be completed within a certain specification. It must have a defined start date and it must have a defined end date. There has to be funding limits for your project. It must consume both human and non-human resources, and it can be multifunctional. So basically that's that when we discuss the concept of a project. Any question as relating to that? Or can I continue? Can I move on?
Yes, we can move on.
Okay.
Yes.
So objective 2 now. Now we've discussed what a project is. The next is to ask ourselves project management. What is project management? What is project management? Any idea? Any idea, guys? What is project management? Any volunteer? Or should I start calling names now?
I think in project management, sorry. Can I come in? Sorry for
Yeah,
not
please
raising
go
my
ahead.
hand.
Okay.
I think project management is when you are in a position to apply the processes that you have already outlined, the skills and knowledge in order to achieve a specific project goal or project objective.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, is it?
Okay, Doc, I just want
go
to
ahead.
go back to your definition. You indicated that a project is a problem, a simple one, a problem that demands a solution. So I just want to make it simple to say that when you want to come up with a solution of that problem, you will require certain skills that at the end will make you to resolve the problem that you have. So many things like you need to have a specific time, you have to have the resources, money, and so on and so on. So all those things, you need to ensure that in order to achieve the solution to the problem that you are having, all the resources that you have, they are going to make sure that that solution, let me put it to say that all the resources that you have within the specific time and your, how can I put it, your intellect on how to apply your mind and knowledge, you are going to achieve to the solution. Okay. This is how simple I can put it.
Okay. I know that's beautiful. If I get you correctly, you said you invariably implied that project management is the coordination of all the resources required, your planning and resources in achieving a particular solution.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Tola Kelly, your mic is unmuted. I suppose you want to say something.
Oh, I wanted to say it's a process of managing the end results, which also involves your planning, your monitoring, your budgeting, your resources of a particular project.
Thank you very much for that beautiful one. So basically, that's what it is. All what you guys have just said now is entirely what project management is. It's no rocket science, right? It's no rocket science. It is just the coordination of all what we've said as project management. So when we talk about project management, in simple terms, it's just managing a project, right? There is no complicating of the matter. And as much as possible when it comes to, this is not in my slide, but I'm just saying it as an aside. When it comes to projects, I think I discussed this when maybe I will discuss it further when I'm discussing measurement and evaluation. When it comes to projects, make it as simple as possible, right? Make it as simple as possible. Don't complicate your projects, right? So the same thing also goes when it comes to defining all these things. Just make it as simple as possible. What is project management? Management and project. We'll define what project is. We say project is a problem that delivers solution. What is management? Managing that particular problem to achieve a particular solution is project management. So in simple terms, we said it is managing a project. It is all the activities that comes to play in the planning, scheduling, controlling, and execution of project activities. I can say that project management is the coordination of the milestones and deliverable, as well as activities in a project. The coordination of, this is not part of the definition, I'm just picking up a definition as it comes. It is all the coordination that goes into the execution of a project, the milestones, the activities, as well as the deliverable. So we said it is organizing, directing, controlling of resources for a relatively short-term objective that has been achieved, that is established to complete a specific goal or objective, right? So it's the coordination of all this that we refer to as what? Project management. So in essence, project management is what? Managing a project to meet its objective, right? Managing a problem to meet its objective. Like we said when we discuss project, there has to be a beginning, there has to be an end. So there has to be something we want to achieve at the end of the day. So project management is just that. So what are the constraints? If we talk about the fact that project management is all about managing a problem until it's achieved its objective, what are the constraints? Remember when we discussed when we explained project, we said in that problem, we must identify where we are and where we want to be. So the project itself is navigating the obstacles, right, that will lead us there. So what are the constraints in project management? In this project management, what do you think are the constraints?
Doc.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I think it's poor planning.
Poor planning?
It could
yes.
be.
Yeah, what else?
And also it can be a poor project scope.
Okay, poor project scope. I like that. Poor planning, poor project scope. Yes, any other constraint?
Undefined objectives.
Undefined objective. Thank you very much. Yes. Any other?
And poor budgeting can also contribute.
Poor budgeting. Thank you very much. Any other thing?
Lack of resources.
Lack of resources. Thank you
Consultation.
very much. You said? Say that again.
Consultation.
Consultation, yes.
Time can also be a factor.
Time will have to be a factor. I was waiting for that. What else?
I also think there should be a plan that is ready to face the threats and the risk. So more like also after doing a SWOT analysis to have plans.
Okay. Plans, doing a SWOT analysis and the likes. Thank you very much. All these points are very beautiful. Like I said, there's nothing we are discussing that you don't know already. And I'm just enjoying the session as it is. So yeah, these are the constraints. You have itemized some of the constraints that comes up when you are about to execute a project. And some of these things you've raised, we're still going to go back to them when we discuss why do projects fail. I'm going to come to that. Why do projects fail? And some of these things are relevant when we discuss that. And all these things you've raised now, we can now categorize them into three spaces, right? We can categorize them into this: performance, cost, time, and scope. We can categorize them into this space. There's a triangle I would love to use. Okay, I'll come back to this slide to explain the idea of performance, scope, time, and scope. Performance, cost, time, and scope. But look at the triangle here. When we discuss the project management constraint, these are the things in which we look at. We look at what? Your cost, your scope, and your time. Are we together? So these are the three project management constraints, right? These are and these things work together. If you increase one, if one is affected, it affects the entirety of the process. So now let me explain. Now you see your time, you see your cost, you see your scope. The entirety of it determines your performance, right? If the scope is increased, I think I will need to do this way. Sorry, just a minute. I want to open a Word document. I want to open a Word document so that I can explain this. I can explain this further, and then we go back to. Can you see the page? okay? Good. Okay, so can you see it now?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you see, we said that it's a triangular thing, right? Your project management constraint when it comes to the time, the scope, and what's the third one now? Your time, your scope, and your cost, right? Time, scope, and cost are a perfect triangle. It is this perfect triangle that determines your what? Your performance. Are we together? If for any reason one is extended, right? It implies that all needs to what? To extend. Are we together? You see, if I increase it this side, you see what is happening? The entire thing is what? Is increasing. Are you getting that? Are we together, guys? Good.
We are together.
The implication of this when we talk about a project is that if you increase the time for a project, ideally, you should increase the costs of the project and you should increase what? The scope of the project. If you reduce any aspect of it, then you must what? Reduce everything. Otherwise, if you do not, you may be having a skewed project. Are you getting the idea? If you increase time and you did not increase the scope and you did not increase the costs, your project is likely to fail. If you increase costs and you do not increase your time or increase the scope, the project is also likely to fail. So basically, that's the idea when we talk about the project constraint. So in the calculation of a project constraint, we always say that cost is a function of your performance, which is the quality of work that will be done, plus the time that you will use to do the job, as well as what? The scope of the job. So the same thing goes, you can twist this all round. You can twist this all round. So we said that cost is a function of your time, your performance, your time, and your scope. The same thing applies to your time. Your time is also a function of the cost, the performance, and the scope. So that's how it works when we discuss the project management constraints. So these things work together. So the planning, the consultation, the resources as relating to both human and capital resources, all encompassing as is what we discussed in this space. So basically that's the project management constraint. And in the course of the entirety of your project, you will always refer back to this particular constraint. This particular constraint, you always refer back to it, right? So your project management constraint, which talks about your performance, the scope, the time, as well as what? The cost, okay? So what are the benefits of carrying out a project? I think I don't need to say too much as relating to this, right? These are just typical things in which you are familiar with. Measurement of accomplishments as against plan, early identification of problems, minimizing the need for continuous reporting and the likes. So these are some of the benefits of project management, right? And it allows for orderliness, identification of the methodology, reduce risks, and the like. So these are some of the examples in which you can play around. I don't need to worry about that. So quickly, let us go to objective 3, which is what? The systems approach to projects. I will want you to pay closer attention to this objective, because the assignments, or part of the assignment in which I asked you to do, has to do with this objective, objective 3. So I'm just giving you an expo now. So please take closer attention to it. When we talk about the system approach, right? two projects. We are talking about a system of regurgitation, in the sense of there's always going to be your environment. A system, there's always going to be an environment in which we all function. Every project has an environment, right? Every project is a function of the environment. And it is what is in the environment that goes into the project, right? And comes out as the product, right? So your deliverables are the products itself. Your inputs are the activities, right? Your inputs are, yes, activities, resources that are required for the project, and then the transformation is where the activity itself is. So in a system approach to projects, the argument here is that every project operates within a particular environment, and the environment determines what the project is going to be like. So that's the argument. And so that's the argument when we discuss a system approach to project. So in a system, there's always what we refer to as the inputs. The input as those things in which we put into that particular project. What are those things like we put into the project? We'll talk about the raw materials for that project. We'll talk about the human resources, that's the individuals that will be involved, the stakeholders, the employees of that particular project, the human capital you are going to be using. Depending on the particular project you are operating, you determine the kind of people that you will work with. The capital itself in terms of money, finance, the type of technology you are going to use for that particular project, the kind of information you are going to feed into that project. That is what your inputs. Now, what happens is that it is these things that are transformed in the project itself, which goes into the activity of the project, the system in itself, right? So it is that place now when you put in all these resources, where the project manager works most specifically is in the system. You transform your resources into a particular finished product. So the transformation happens within the system, right? So that's where you have the management activities, the technology and operations, the method. How do you carry out your particular project? The information you have, how do you use it, right? So because we may have the same resources, but we use that resources different ways. So if we are operating different projects, I'm trying to think of one now. If we are operating different projects, we may have the same information, but our interpretation of that information will be different. So the way you interpret the information will be dependent on your project. The way I will interpret the same information will be dependent on what? On my project. Are we together? So you see, that interpretation of that information is in what? The transformation stage. That's where the nucleus of your project is. And at the end of the day, the resources which goes into the project comes out as what? As your output. So you should be able to identify all this. So basically that's how a project operates. And then you always have the environment of the project, which also influence the project. The environment in the sense of what is the location of that particular project? Where is that project happening? What is the culture of that particular space, right? What is the political culture of that particular place? What is the economy of that particular environment? So basically, these are the environments, the things in which you look at when we discuss the environment of the project. And when we discuss the system approach, your output will always inform your inputs. There's always a feedback from the output, in the sense that when you come out with a particular project outcome, right? You do a system, you do an evaluation. There's always an evaluation to see if you have achieved your objective or not. If you have achieved your objective, the outcome will determine if you want to change your methodology. You want to change your methodology to come up with a different thing. So it will also influence the kind of information or the kind of technology or the kind of resources that goes again into the system. So that's what we refer to as what? As the feedback loop. Feedback loop. Feedback loop as in L-O-O-P, right? That's the feedback loop. The feedback loop is a connection between your output and your input, in the sense that now you have a result, you have a deliverables. You look at your deliverables. Are you achieving what you have intended to achieve? If yes, you reinforce that particular methodology. If you are not achieving what you intend to achieve, what do? You change your methodology. So basically, that is how a project operates. So every project operates within the premises of what? Of a system approach. Are we together on this?
Yes, Doc.
Any question as relating to the systems approach? Are we fine? Okay.
Yes, we are fine.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So basically, that's how the system approach operates, right? There's always going to be an input, which is the resources needed to produce. There's always the transformation space, whereby those resources are converted. The transaction happens, the utilization of those resources. And there's always an output, whereby now you see the deliverables of that particular project. And then there's always a feedback, the reaction from the public as relating to that particular project in which you have performed. So please just be familiar with this thing. When it comes to for example, the assignment in which I have given you guys that you are going to be submitting, the assignment requires you to look at this diagram and then come up with a case study and then explain using your project what are the inputs that is required for your project. How do you do the transformation process? What are the activities that are required in your transformation process? And then what are the outputs? And then in your output, how do you link it back to the input? What is the environment of your project? So these are some of the things in which we'll be discussing in the assignments that you'll be submitting in some 2-3 weeks time, right? So please take note of this. That's why I'm asking if there are questions and we need want to explain it further. Okay, so when we talk about the element of the system, we talk about the macro contents, you talk about the transaction, you talk about the input, you talk about the transaction space, you talk about the output, the feedback, the outcomes. I've explained all these from the diagram, so I don't need to sit here. So when we talk about project management systems, basically we have 7 subsystems of the project management. We have the human system subsystem, you have the method subsystem, we talk about the culture subsystem, organization subsystem, planning, information, as well as control. That is the project management system. That's the entirety of what is required for you to carry out a successful project management. So when we talk about the human subsystem, as the word implies, we talk about the human resources required in the management of your project. So under this subsystem, the manager must deal effectively with all of the subsystems in the human subsystem. In the human subsystem, the project management is required to deal with all this. Your leadership must be up to par. You must have a leadership skill, your negotiation skill. In this sense, when we talk about leadership skill, we're talking about your leadership of the project itself. How do you manage the people as well as the resources in that particular project? Your negotiation skill. How do you negotiate even with the employees under you? How do you negotiate with the stakeholders of the project, the environment of the project, team building, motivation, communication, decision making? This all falls under what? The human subsystem, right? So when we talk about the method subsystem, we talk about the tools. What are those things that are required for you to be able to carry out that particular project? An example would be your computer-aided designs, the models and the likes. So that goes to what? The method subsystem. You need to also be familiar with the methodology. What method is required? What are the tools that you need to carry out that particular project. And like we said, this is also relational. It's determinant on what? On that particular project in which you are supposed to carry out, right? And then we'll talk about the culture. The culture subsystem has to do with what? The way things are done where you find yourself. It's the environment of the particular project, right? It is the environment. Your culture subsystem has to do with the future of that environment. How are things done within that environment? What are the value systems? You must know this when you're about to carry out a particular project. What are the value systems? What are the beliefs, the attitude of the people? For instance, you cannot go to a particular space to carry out a project and you bring in foreign ideas into that space. For instance, there's a community where I'm from. There's a community where I'm from that's or better, let's just use the South African system, for instance. We cannot come to this space now, and then I want to introduce to you the kind of culture that I am familiar with from where I am from. I'm a Nigerian, so I cannot bring a Nigerian system into a South African system. I must understand the South African system and operate within the value system of the South African system. Or better still, when we talk about religion, for instance, you cannot go to a Muslim-dominated area and you want to introduce the value system of Christianity in that particular system. Ditto, you can also not do the same the other way around. For you to come, because I'm a Muslim, then I will come and introduce to you the value system of a Christian, right? Or stuff like that. So you must understand that. And then even within the premises of your project, you must also understand how are things done within that particular project. How have they been doing it before now? What is the behavior of your company? What is their orientation, right? What is the tradition of your organization? That will also determine what you want to do. Like, so basically that's that one. We'll discuss the cultural subsystem. One will discuss the project management system, right? And then we continue to say, what are the organizational systems? Every organization must deal with the assignment, and there has to be what the definition of authorities and responsibility. When you carry out a particular project, you must also be concerned about your organizational subsystem. Who is responsible for what? So who is responsible for what? Who is supposed to report to? There has to be an hierarchy, and there's also an hierarchy when it comes to responsibility too. Some of these things Max will be discussing tomorrow when it comes about the organizational subsystem. And then it has to be what? Good planning. If there's no planning, you fail. You are familiar with the saying that when you fail to plan, you have planned to fail, right? When you fail to plan, you have planned to fail. So you must ensure that for you to have a successful project, there has to be what? Planning. So that's another subsystem in which you should be familiar with. And then we have the information subsystem. The word is all about information. You must, and this we'll discuss more when we discuss documentation, project documentation, for instance, right? There has to be an historical data. You must be able to present everything. What has worked for you? What did not work? Why is it that this did not work? What worked for you? How did it work? Right? You must be able to put all these things down. You must know all these things. How do you document your information? How do you document your activity, your day-to-day activity? So that's another subsystem in a project, the information subsystem. And then we'll talk about the control, right? The control subsystem, which is supported by both planning and the information system. There has to be a control frame, right? So basically, these are some of these are the subsystems. What is expected from a manager as relating to that? So these are some of the things in which we need to be familiar with. When we discuss the control subsystem also, we're also talking about how do you manage your resources, both your human and non-human resources, your human and capital resources. How do you manage these things? All these things are what are within the control subsystem. The control system also has to do with the entirety of the entire system I will just discuss your human, your information, your method, all these things. How do you put them into check? Because if there's no driver in your bus, you know that you are bound to have accidents. There are no pilots on the plane, there's going to be a crash. So as the manager, your control system needs to be what? Needs to be intact. So basically that's that. So quickly, what are the factors that affect success of a project? These are the points in which you have raised. For the sake of time, I will just skip that. The point we raised initially when I asked the question on constraint are some of the factors that affect the success of a project: poor planning, poor implementation, lack of resources, constraint on time, and the like. These are some of the things that affect a project, right? That affect the success of a project. So, like we said, we must consider how well has the project been planned. How well was it planned? You ask yourself, was the problem well defined? Did you define the problem correctly? Did you identify the problem, right? Was your deadline realistic? When we talk about realistic deadline, you must be what? You must be smart. I suppose you understand, you know the acronym for SMART, right? Or better still, what is the acronym for SMART? Hello, people.
SMART.
This is the period where you tell me something.
Oh, SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound.
Thank you very much. So in this space, we must what? We must be smart. Okay, thank you very much for that, right? So you must ask yourself this question. You must define the problem. You must ensure that your problem is well defined. These are contributing factors to the success of a project. Your problem must be well defined. Your project must be well planned, and you must be realistic when it comes to your strategy. So that is where you operate the SMART strategy. Sorry, this is supposed to be in capital. Okay, so you must employ what? The SMART strategy. It must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be attainable, it must be realistic, and it must be what? Time bound. And then remember our tip when we talk about the project constraint. If you increase time, it implies that you must increase resources, and you must also increase the costs, right? You must increase the cost, you must increase the scope. If you reduce the scope, you must also reduce the time, you must also reduce the resources, which is your cost and the like. So basically that's some of the stuff. So like I said, we will discuss why the project fail and a lot of reasons why projects fail. Unclear. If your plan is unclear, if your problem is ambiguous, it will fail. Different points here, right? That is raised here. High expectation, unplanned turnover, insufficient planning, no learning from your past, poor communication, insufficient project cost and time frame, lack of strong leadership, right? The project logistics and logistical and administrative problem. Many reasons we can raise as some of the constraints of a project. I'm going to post this on Moodle at the end of the session, so I don't need to worry about this. So I'll talk about the project management process. There are processes in which we must follow. When we, Max is going to be discussing this also further tomorrow. So I'm just going to play around it just for the sake of time. We'll play around it and then we move on. So here we look at some of this process. First, there is your planning stage. That's the project initiation phase, right? In your project management process, the first is what? The initiation. There is where you select the project that is worth doing. You know, when we say a project is a problem, there is a lot of problem around us, right? There's a lot of problem, but we must identify which of the problem do we want to do. Which of the problem is aligned to our goal? Which of the problem is aligned to our culture, right? So these are some of the things we look at. So first we select the project, and then which of the problem is also aligned to our resources. You don't want to start a project that you know you will not finish, right? For instance, myself as an individual now, I will not stand up and say, I want to start constructing roads in Durban. I know I can't do that because I don't have the resources for it. So you must select projects that are within the boundaries of your resources. You must also select projects based on what the benefit of that project. We are selfish people. Everybody is selfish. So it's not an insult. I talk about that when I teach politics, and we talk about realism, and I said everybody is selfish. And people tend to take offense in that. But that's the truth. All of us do things that will benefit us. And the same thing applies to project initiation. You pick a project that benefits your organization. You pick a project that benefits your stakeholders. You pick a project that will benefit your funders. That's the only reason that we fund you. Nobody will fund a project that will not benefit them, right? It will benefit their goal at the end of the day. And then once you have done this, then we'll talk about the preparation of documents to sanction the project. That's why we talk about project proposal, preparing a project proposal. And then once the project has been sanctioned, we also talk about the assigning of project managers, right? So basically, these are the things we do at the initiation phase. So in the initiation phase, we are concerned about the project itself, the visibility of the project, and the stakeholders in that project. That's what we do at the initiation, the project initiation phase. And right. So again, we also are concerned So here we identify the steps that we need to carry out in this space. First, in this space now, we list all current projects and project ideas. That's in the initiation phase, what we need to do. We list the project ideas. We determine the opportunity and need for each project. That is these steps we are considering here is now when you want to now come up with a project proposal, right? When you want to come up with a project proposal, as in this instance now, you are concerned about looking at the visibility of the project as well as the stakeholders in the project and the like. So you list the current project, you determine the opportunities and then the need for that project. Why do we have to do this project? That's the question you need to ask yourself. What is the why of the project? So you must determine the why of the project. Then we'll talk about the constraint. What is the issue? When it comes to, now you have determined the why of the project, you look at the time, you look at the budget and the scope. That's the budget constraint. You also judge the visibility of the project. You establish the risks and failure associated with each of the projects you have identified. And then you review the project lists. You eliminate some of these things, and then you determine the project in which you'll be carrying out. So these are the steps that you carry out in the initiation phase, right? So for instance, now we may come up with, like we said in our example of the project we want to carry out in this class, we have identified the problem. The problem is that there's poverty and unemployment in KZN, right? Now we come up with projects to resolve this problem. We say first we can be involved in crop training. We can be involved possibly in block catering. We can be involved in sowing. These are 3 projects we have come up with. Now, so in these 3 projects now, we may come up with the opportunities that are available for these 3 projects, right? We look at the risks and failure of these projects, right? And then when we have done all this, then we now eliminate which is the best project for us to carry out. From these 3, we decide as a class and say, okay, based on the evaluation of the resources that we have, the time we have to carry out these resources, and the scope of the project itself, we feel that this is the best project to carry out. So at that point, that is elimination. We are doing elimination. Then we select one project and then we carry out that particular project. So that's what we do under the project initiation phase. Now, when it comes to the project planning phase, what we do in this phase is to define the necessary work to complete that project. Remember that this time we have determined the project, right? We have come up with different projects. We have determined the project we want to do. So we move to the next phase, which is the planning. So in the planning, we'll now ask ourselves, what are the work that are required? We'll define the work. We'll define the quality and the quantity of work we require, right? Once we have defined the quality and quantity of work required, the next thing is what? Is to define the resources that are needed for that work. And then once we define the resources, then we schedule the activity, and then we also evaluate what? The risks that are involved in that particular project. So basically, that's what we do at this phase. And then the third phase is what? The execution phase. The first, we have decided the project. Second, we have decided our plan, the strategy to go by. Then third, we do what? The coordination, right? In this space now, we negotiate. There's negotiation of the team member, negotiation and coordination of the team members involved in that project. And then the direction and the management of the work, the activities in that project, and then and the lives, the teamwork and the lives. So it's at the execution phase that all these things happen. Then after the execution, we go to the fourth stage. The fourth stage is what? Monitoring and control phase. In this place, we do what? We watch over the project. We do what? Track the process, the progress. In this phase is where we do the project milestone and as well as the deliverables, right? You look at it, okay, what are we doing? Where are we? How did we get here? What have we done that got us to where we are now? How do we improve on what we have done? You compare your actual outcomes to your predicted outcome. This place is also where you now compare your milestone and your deliverables, right? We projected that in 1 year, we should have trained 100 students, 100 youths on crop management. Have we been able to achieve it? So in this place, you do what we refer to as both your formative assessment is at what? The project monitoring and control phase. Quickly, let me go back to this. Let me go back to this to explain that. Please just let's take note of that. I want to go back here. The systems. You see what happens in the monitoring that I just showed now is the output and the feedback. Because now you monitor what? Your output. You look at your output, you monitor it. And then you look at your output and then ask yourself, have we achieved what we want to achieve? If not, what happens? It links back to the feedback and then sends you back again to your input. Because now if you have not achieved what you want to achieve, what do? You go back again to the input, right? So that's what happens in this place of comparing your outcomes and the predicted outcomes and the actual outcome. Then you analyze the variance, you analyze variances and impacts, and then you make adjustments. How do you make adjustments? Feedback loop. You go back and start again. You put in another input, which goes into the throughput. It goes into the transformation stage, then comes back again as an output. Then you look at it again, you monitor, you look, okay, have we achieved what we want to achieve? Then you go back. So there's formative and summative assessment going on in your project monitoring phase, right? And then you have your project closure phase, which is the final phase. At the end, this is the celebration and reflection phase. We now look at, have we achieved what we want to achieve? We verify all the works that have been accomplished, right? And then there's a contractual closure of the contract, and then there's a final closure of the charge numbers, and then there's administrative closure, there's financial closure, there's contractual closure, financial closure, as well as administrative closure of that particular project. So this is what happens in your project closure phase. Like we said, every project has a start date and a defined end date. So every project will have an initiation phase, which is your stage 1, and it must end in the last stage, which is what? Your closure stage. So please take note of this. That is the project management process, right? And then you have the termination phase. The termination, after the closure, you terminate the contract. Now you say, okay, the project is either complete or rejected. That is dependent on what has transpired in your project. And then the compilation of reviews. You look at list of all the work that has been successfully identified, and then a notice of completion, formal acceptance, and the likes. And then after this, you possibly have to prepare your executive summary, and you talk about your achievements, you talk about your acknowledgements, your recommendation, and the likes. All this has to play when you discuss your project documentation. So these are things which you'll be familiar with. So this is just the process again explained. In the planning phase, you have your scope. Here you look at your schedule, you look at your budget, you look at your quantity, your quality, you look at your team, your resources, your risks, what are the risks, the communication, procurement, integration, all this happen in the planning stage. You have the execution phase, and these are the things that transpire in your execution phase. There you have to direct and manage all the work. Now you have to direct all these things we say. You have to direct in the resources, the team, the stakeholder, the risk, communication. Now you have to direct all these things. And then we talk about the monitoring stage. So these are things in which you should be familiar with, right? And what are the steps in managing the project? I will just scan through this. It's the same, it's almost the same thing as what we've just discussed when we talk about the phases. You must define the problem. You must develop solution for the problem. You must identify a problem. And once a problem is identified, there has to be a solution. You must come up with solution. And once you have a solution, what has happened? It means that you have determined where you are and where you want to be, right? So you determine where you are and where you want to be. Now you need to now develop, how do you travel from where you are to where you want to be? We are all in Durban. Where we want to be is PMB. How do we move from Durban to PMB? That's what happens between your project planning to the closure state. You plan, you execute, you monitor, and then you close. So basically that's what we've discussed in the last 5 minutes, even from the last 3 slides or thereabout. So basically that's how it happens. You have a problem, you see the problem, you determine the solution. Then you move from the problem to the solution. So that's what we do. Okay? And in doing that, you also need to perform what? A SWOT analysis of your project. When we talk about SWOT analysis, we are talking about the strengths, the weakness, the opportunities, as well as the threats of your project. What is the strength of your project? What do you think are the likely weaknesses of your project? What opportunities have you identified? What can you take advantage of? And what are those factors that will threaten your project? Typically, the project team should ask the following question. You must ask these 3 fundamental questions. First, will there be organizational support for your project? Is it of strategic importance for you to have organizational support for that project? Does your organization have adequate resources to support that project? And then does your organization have the necessary expertise among your staff? Or should you have, or should some technical expertise be outsourced? So these are 3 questions you must ask yourself in determining your project and also in preparing a SWOT analysis for your project. In determining the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats of your project, you must know these 3 points. Do you have, is your organization, is the bigger organization in which you're working in now, right? Like we said, when we discuss programs and projects as different, your program is continuous, it's just there as broad. Your project is specific. So this particular project that is specific, do you think you are going to have support? If you are working in a municipal office, for instance, do you think the mayor and the councillors will support that particular project in which you want to do, right? If yes, do you think that the municipal office in which you are working have enough resources to carry out that particular project, both human and capital? If yes, do you think that your organization also have the required skills that you need. Do you need to use people from your office, or do you need to outsource? Do you need to get people from outside? So these are questions you need to ask, right? And then you also come up with what's referred to as pest analysis. You know, we say you carry out a SWOT analysis, right? You carry out a SWOT analysis, which is what? The weakness, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. You also carry out a pest analysis of your project. And in this place, you want to know about the political, economic, and social and technological capacity of that project finds itself. You see, SWOT analysis has to do with what? The internal dynamics of your project, right? While a pest analysis has to do with what? The environment of your project. Going back again, remember what we say here in our systems approach. I'm going back to the slide, the system approach. Now you perform SWOT analysis in inputs, your transformation process, as well as the output. You perform a pest analysis in the environment in which you find your project. You see, we'll keep coming back to what? The system approach to your project. This is very, very key when you discuss projects and project management. That is very, very key. So like I said, you perform your SWOT analysis and you also perform your what? Your pest analysis. You look at the political factors, you look at economy, the social, as well as the technological. Political, what is the state of the politics of South Africa? What is the economy of South Africa? Now in the case of our projects, we're looking at KZN. What is the political atmosphere in KZN? Will the political atmosphere in KZN support our project? What is the economic condition, the economic state of KZN? What is the social condition? What is the social attribute? What is the social and cultural makeup of KZN? Is there technological capacity in KZN to support our project? So these are some of the things in which you look at, right? So because our project is what? Is community development oriented. But in most cases, when you look at the economic and the pest too, if your project is also for profit making, you may want to look at the markets and the potential the markets for your product and the likes. But when it comes to community development projects, you want to look at, you are more concerned about the political as well as the social of your project, and then the capacity as it stands. So these are things in which you need to be familiar with: your SWOT analysis and your pest analysis. Be familiar with it in the discourse of your project, right? So this is a perfect example when we discuss our SWOT analysis. These are questions in which you must ask yourself. You must ask yourself this question: your strength and your weakness has to do with the internal project environment, while your opportunities and your threats are what? The external project environment. So when it comes to your strength, you are looking at the project capacity, organizational capacity, the resources you have, the experiences you have, your knowledge and data, your financial reserve, delivery mechanism, innovation, location, geographical location, your quality, the resource, the process, the system, your cultural, attitudinal, and behavioral orientation of your organization, management support and succession. This is your strength. So you must ask yourself this question: do you have this? And when I talk about weakness, you also want to ask yourself, what is gap in capacity? What is it that you don't have? What is your reputation, your presence? What is your reach? How far can you go in this project? What are your financial concerns? What are the known vulnerabilities? What is the time scale? The continuity, reliability of data, the process and system, the management support and succession. You must identify the weakness. This is what within the internal environment of your project. And when we talk about the external environment of your project, you must be concerned about the opportunities, right? You must the external environment is opportunity and threats. Under opportunity, you ask yourself, what is the developmental opportunity of your project? Is there technological information? What can you take advantage of in your environment? That's what you are concerned with there. And when it comes about the threats too, what is the situation? What is the pests that we just discussed now? What is the pests of that space? What's the political issue there? What is the environment issue? The environment effect of your project, and the sustaining internal capacity, the seasonality, or how will the seasonality or weather affect your project and all that. So these are what are those things you are envisaging? We affect the success of your project. These are when we discuss what your threats. You must be able to identify this. You should be able to perform a SWOT analysis of your project. You should be specific. In your SMART analysis, you must make sure that it is what? It is SMART, right? Both your SWOT, in your discourse of your SWOT analysis, you must make sure it is what? It is SMART. Can I say that again? In your discourse of your SWOT analysis, you must make sure it is SMART. What do you mean by that? Make sure that you are specific in your strength, your weakness, your opportunity, and your threats. Be specific about it. Make sure that they are measurable. You can say, okay, this is my threat. You cannot just say poverty is my threat, right? You must make sure it's measurable. Everything needs to be specific. It needs to, so that it must be something that is tangible, right? Don't, in your discourse of SWOT analysis, you cannot just be broad. You must be specific in those items in which you are coming up with in your session. So basically that's that when we discuss the SWOT analysis. Any questions relating to that? I understand that we're already after 8, so I'm just going to spend a few minutes to discuss models, and then we can end the class. Well, let me open the opportunity. Any question thus far? Any question thus far? Am I still together with you, or I'm talking to myself now?
Yes, we are together.
We are here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So no question. Okay. It's all right. Please take note also that this SWOT analysis is also part of the question in my assignment that I'm going to be giving you. So first is the system, second is this, right? And like I said, be specific about it. When you come, like I said, the assignment is going to be you determine a choice project. You come up with a project of your choice, and then you use the project of your choice to explain the system approach to project management, and then you also perform a SWOT analysis of that particular project in which you have come up with. So that's for you for my session, right? So let's see how we can start rounding up. I understand. I know that now our heads are already on fire. Okay, so let's go to the 5th objective. How many objectives are we supposed to cover? I think about 6. So we're almost done now. Okay, I think this is the last objective we're looking at, objective 5. So technically now, just have it at the back of your mind that if we're supposed to be in the physical session, at this point now we should be around maybe 2-3 o'clock. We're about close to 4 o'clock now to end the class. So yeah. So this time we're discussing the models for the study and application of projects. When we talk about model, we talk about what is used to identify, to monitor, to measure and benchmark progression of steps and methodology in a project life cycle, right? That's what is used. And mostly we'll discuss this also more when we are looking at project monitoring and evaluation. So in these models, you will be able to identify, monitor, measure, and benchmark your progress in a project's life cycle. So it's a model could lead to the ability of an organization to implement strategies and programs that will ensure effective and efficient project at the end of the day. It goes back to our discourse of what? Of a systems approach, right? The model is what you use to look at your entirety of your project to see whether you are actually achieving your deliverables at the end of the day. When you look at your milestone and your deliverables, so this is what you use. So basically, there are two broad categories of models, right? So it's either you're looking at models from the maturity model, or you're looking at the life cycle model. As the word implies, that's what it means. There's no big deal to it. Maturity models and life cycle models. In maturity model, we're looking at you look at it from when the project itself as is fully formed, right? It's mostly a summative evaluation of your project. While a life cycle model looks at it from a formative evaluation, piece by piece, step by step, as the project continues. So when we look at, like I said, the maturity models, right? The maturity models, the use of this concept, like I said, it implies that capacity must have grown, right? The capacity of a project must have grown. It must have fully manifested itself over time for you to use the maturity model, right? Your project must have manifested itself over time. And then in the maturity model, you want to ensure that what you have produced is constant and you can repeat that success in the organizational process. You can say, okay, this is how we have been doing it. This is what we have done that has granted us success. For that reason, we can repeat the same process over and over again for different projects. So that's what the maturity model is all about. So it portrayed the evolution of an organization from the immature project to what? Its maturity stage. So basically that's what it does. So the maturity model postulates what is used to what? To look at assessment tools. You use it to project your project itself. And then you also can identify the strength and weakness of your project. And so basically that's all what it's all about, right? That's basically what the maturity model is all about. You can read up more on this, right? Like we said, the common characteristics of a maturity model is that there is a clear interaction between the strategy, the program, and the products. There's a clear interface between the strategy, program, as well as the product. In other words, the project are used as what? Projects are used as implementation vehicles of what? Of the organizational strategy. They are used as a means to an end for the organization itself, right? So basically, that's what you want to consign yourself on. And when we talk about maturity models, there are different models. When we talk about it, we have the SMART management, dynamic baseline model, IPMA, association for products. These are different types of maturity models that are available in project management. You can read up on this in your spare time as it is. Like we said, these are a lot of information. I understand that these are a lot of information that we are bombarding you with in the space of 1 week. This is what people do for the entirety of a semester. They're bombarding you in the space of 1 week. And then what you're supposed to do in the whole day, we are bombarding you in 1 hour or in 2 hours. So I apologize to your brain, but I don't apologize to what you are going to gain at the end of the day. So yeah, so these are some of the models. You can read up on them in your spare time. We don't have time for them. So like I said, we have the SMART model. When we talk about the SMART model, we're not talking about the SMART that you are familiar with, specific, measurable, and the like. This time we're talking about strategically managed. Your project must be strategically managed. It must be aligned. It must be regenerative, right? And it must be transitional. It must be strategic. It must be strategically managed. It must align with the objective of your organization. It must be regenerative. Regenerative in the sense that we should be able to repeat that particular protocol. And then it must be what? Transitional. We must be able to move it If you are not available and we need to move it to other set of people, that should be able to work. So these are some of the things which you look at what's the SMART model. We have the Prince2 model. In Prince2 model, the meaning is just projects in control environments, right? Projects in control environment. This one, you don't do it outside. It is not just open to every to a large environment. In this place, you put it within a control environment and you determine what needs to be done. So you can just play around this. And then we have what we refer to as a V model. In the V model, it's just like a view like this. I'm going to show you. In that one, it describes the what, how, and the when of a particular project. The what, the how, and the when of a particular project. What are the things that need to be done? How will they be done? And when should they be done in a project? So basically, that's what the V model is all about. So it talks about the what, the how, the when, and also talks about who is responsible for what. How is that person supposed to do this? That's talking about the responsibility, and then when should that be done, right? So that's the V model. So this is how it works, right? And it also speaks to the project constraint too. So in this case now, you see the left leg of the V, right? The left leg of the V represents the specification stream. The right leg represents the testing screen, and then the bottom represents the development stream. So here is where you define your projects, right? Project definition. Here you have project testing, and then you have the implementation, right? So this is the V model. And then it is when you define the project, right? You implement, you test, and then you go back again. You verify and validate. If you verify and validate, it says that now you see that the project is nice. Then you what? You continue. So this is how it goes. So there's sort the concepts of operation. What are the requirements? What are the detailed design? And then you implement. And then we talk about the testing, the system verification, the operation and maintenance. So basically, these are that is the V model. And then you have the pure waterfall and modified waterfall models. You can read up on these: the spiral model, the Shimizu model, the adaptive or agile model. So these are some of the things in which these are some of the models that are available in project management. These are some of the things in which you want to look at, right? So I want to stop here and not just bombard us with any further points. Okay? So I'm going to open up the floor for question. Is there any question? Is there any question? This is the time to ask. Any question?
On my side, I have no question, but what I can say is that I understand now that if you want to implement any project at the same time, you also need to look at them output, transformation, and the input transformation process and the outputs. And I also understand that you have to have a SWOT analysis where you be able to define your strength, your weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. Yeah, that's all I can say. There's a lot that I've learned, and the system, yeah, especially on the system approach. Yeah, I understand it well. And also the component of a project where you said we have a milestone, activities, and deliverable. I also understand them well.
Okay, thank you very much for that feedback. That's nice. I'm happy that you have a grasp of these things. Thank you very much. Okay, any other contribution? Any other contribution?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we now in a position to understand that other than the SWOT analysis that we are used to, we now understand that there is a pest analysis where you need to understand the political, economic, social, and technological environment that you operate under, so that at least you are in a position to understand e-project management in terms of implementation of any project management. You will need not to dwell on the SWOT analysis, you also need to do a pest analysis. I think that is the highlight of today's lecture. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for that contribution. Any other feedback, question, contribution?
Good evening, Doc.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. It's I don't have any questions. It was a very informative presentation. Thank you so much. And it's important to note that when you initiate a project, it's important to know that you must have tangible deliverables, not just doing a project for this. It's actually identifying the problem and actually coming up with the solution. So it's important that, you know, at the end of the project, your outputs actually talks to your inputs, and then in that way you can know and see that your project had an impact way thing. So all the steps that we covered today will really assist us in managing our projects effectively. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that feedback. Okay, any other? There are people that have just been sitting since and did not say anything, so contribution or another point possibly that that's possibly this is time you can just say one or two things before the next thing I will do now is discussing the Anybody? Okay, let me just go straight Thank you very much for your contribution, guys. For those that have contributed and regurgitate the joy. I'm going to sleep today a happy man, knowing fully well that at least I've been able to bring to our attention some of these few points. Okay, so I'm going to discuss quickly our assignments. Can you see the assignment now?
Yes.
Okay, it's going to be on Moodle. You're going to submit on Moodle, and I suppose that by now it should have been on Moodle, but I will confirm after the class. But otherwise, maybe by tomorrow I will have posted it on Moodle too. And I think since I am on your WhatsApp page, I can just, for sake of convenience, also post it on your WhatsApp page. But your submission is going to be on Moodle. So please ensure you submit on Moodle at the end of the day. I did not indicate here the maximum number of pages of which I am supposed to do. So please make sure that you do not write more than the maximum page is 5 pages. 5 pages isn't too much. Yeah, maximum page should just be 5 pages. Let me just leave it at 5 pages, right? That's the maximum. Your minimum page is 1 page. Maximum 5-page. And like if you see there, the major thing is that you're going to determine a project. Think of a project of choice, any project whatsoever. Think of a project. Now, you will now use that project and then you explain the system approach, right? Using the project, describe the entire system components of your choice project. So in this case, now you will discuss your input, you discuss your transformation, you discuss your output, you discuss the feedback loop, everything. So that's what you do there, right? Of your choice project, right? So the same project. For instance, now if remind me, what's our project again? We came up with a project in the course of the class.
Crop farming.
Crop programming, crop farming. Yes. So our project is crop farming, right? So we need to come up with the inputs. What are the resources? What are everything, the human resources, the capital resources, everything that are involved in crop farming? We should be able to discuss them. Then we should discuss the activities. What are the activities we are going to be involved in? The training and the likes. We should be able to discuss those activities. Then we should be able to discuss our outcomes. At the end of the day, what is our milestone? Our milestone is to have 500 people and the likes. We should be able to discuss that. And then we should be able to discuss the feedback. What is the reaction of people and the likes? So that's for the first one, right? Giving example, you must be able to describe your project very keenly like that. And then when it comes to the performance, you should now do a SWOT analysis of your choice project. What are the strengths of your project? What are the weaknesses of the project? Identify the strengths, the weakness, identify the opportunity, and identify the threats to that project. So make sure you do that. Now, when it comes to writing that project, make sure you have an introduction, right? So it implies that before you even start A and B, right, there should be an introduction. Let me see if I can give you a format here. I'm just going to do it here. So first, I want to start now. My project is, this is me, Patrick, right? Better still, yeah. So now, I'm assuming that I'm writing now, right? So I have my name already there, Patrick, right? So now to start the project proper, I have introduction, right? In the introduction, I should expect that you will tell us what is the problem, right? What is the problem? In your introduction, you discuss the problem, right? Then you also, what is your project? What is your choice project? What do you think I'm missing here? Let me see if you are following. Any idea what I've missed?
Project objectives.
Yeah, what is your solution? Your solution is your what? Objectives. Right? So you have, so in your introduction, you should be able to answer these three in your introduction. Are you getting me? So you must be able to answer these three questions in your introduction. Then you move to session A. A is what? What is A? A is now you performing what? system approach, right? A will now be this. A will now be analysis of what's our choice project here. Our choice project is agriculture, right? So system analysis of your choice project. Now I say is what system analysis of projects, your project itself. So you put a title here, system analysis of your project. System analysis of your choice project. I will expect you not to write it this way. This page now, you're going to tell us what the choice project is, right? Are we together here, guys?
Yes.
Okay, system analysis of your choice project, and then you will discuss your choice project, right? And then B is what? SWOT analysis. B is now so B is now SWOT analysis of what? Of choice projects. Are we together? And then what do you do after then? Then you do your conclusion, right? In conclusion, what you do in conclusion is to say what summary so your conclusion is what? A summary of what you have done. Let me put this thing in another page. Let me say advised formats. Does it make sense? So now you have what? Your introduction and then conclusion. Conclusion is what? Summary of what you have done. Are you getting me? So you see what I said here by saying that your introduction is 20 marks, your body is this A and B, right? And then I said conclusion 10 marks. And then I talked about in-text referencing. You must make sure that you do what? In-text referencing. What it implies that you must research. You must go online and get articles and the likes and make sure you what? You quote. Anything you say that is not directly from you, you must provide an in-text for it. For instance, if I say poverty, how am I spelling poverty like this? Poverty is a huge poverty is a huge challenge in KZN, right? Poverty is a huge challenge in KZN. I cannot just say this and assume that everybody knows this. At least I did not copy from anybody, right? I must look for people that have said this before. So for instance, maybe there's a book by Google. Google wrote a book that she spoke about the fact that poverty is a huge challenge. This journal was written maybe in 20. Google, when did you write your book?
2019.
2019. Thank you very much. So Google's book in 2019 says that there's what? Poverty in KZN, right? So I must say like this, poverty is huge in KZN. I can write it like this, or I will say, according to, is either this, I can write it like this, or I will say, or I can say, according to to Google 2019. Poverty is a huge all together, right? So this is what we refer to as what? In-text referencing. Make sure that your in-text referencing, you have in-text referencing in your work. Every work that is not by day, you must have a reference session. All right? Your reference is where you will now give full detail of the Google book, Google M 2019, right? Okay, this time we are using Harvard. So Harvard style, Google M 2019, then the name of the book, right? Poverty in South Africa, right? And it was produced by Journal of Sustainability, right? And it is volume 5, number 2, and it is in page 10 to 16, 26. You get that? Are we together?
Yes,
together,
Doctor.
Yes,
okay,
Doc.
so please make sure that you do these things. I know you know these things already, but just for the benefit of those that possibly are having challenge with this, make sure that your work is this explicit. Anything you say, ensure that you reference it, right? Ensure you reference it. So that's what you will do in the work. Are we together? So this is your advice format, right? Some of what has been done. So basically, this is what is expected from you. Any question as relating to this assignment? Any question whatsoever? Okay. If there are no questions, we have.
Sorry, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to check. Your assignment will go through to Turnitin.
There's no need for that. You just put it on what's it called, on module.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other question? Please, as much as the fact that we say don't put it on module, it does not imply that you just go and copy everybody and just copy and paste and give to me. Don't do me a garbage in, garbage out. Make sure you do what is worth it, right? And I think module already have an assessment, a Turnitin, automatic Turnitin that will give me the percentage of your work already. And that's why I'm not worried about you putting it on Turnitin. I will not want to put you on the stress of Turnitin. Is that okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other question?
Please put all this into E-Learn 21 so that we can able to print out.
You said? Can you say that again? Can you repeat that, please? I did not get you.
Oh, I was saying, can you also please load the information on the E-Learn 21 so that we can able to print it?
It's all right.
This one for us.
Yeah. I will. Especially this format and the likes. I will upload it on. I'll upload it there. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And today's slide.
Yeah, I will. I will upload both. Okay. Okay, so if there are no other questions, I think we can safely end the class here for today. And then please be reminded that tomorrow's class is 9 a.m. Are we together? Tomorrow's class is
Okay. Okay.
Class with you. You said this next week, Tuesday.
No. My next class with you guys is going to be on Friday.
Oh, okay.
My next class is just going to be on Friday, and then we'll have another class again on Monday. But tomorrow and next tomorrow, Mr. Maximino will be the one to take you guys.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's all right then. I will see you when I see you again. Have a pleasant night rest, and see you tomorrow at 9.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Good night.
Bye.